Hello, and welcome to Chapter 1 of A New Point of View by Cyber5555. Okay, let's see what we've got here. A Pegasus with a white coat, blue eyes, silver mane and tail. Now, what am I missing? I leaned back on my chair, relaxing my fingers after feverishly typing out my OC's appearance. A female voice piped up from behind me. How about a name, Brony? Yeah, I yelped in fright, tipping over my chair and crashing to the ground. I looked up from the floor and saw my friend Brittany sitting on my bed, smirking at my reaction. I looked over at my window and saw it open, letting in cool breeze. Brittany, what do I always say about this? Knock on the window and then come in, I said in annoyance, picking myself up off the floor. Sorry, Eric, I keep forgetting about that, she snickered. And I repeat myself, how about a name for your pony? Yeah, sure, but what should I call him? I asked her as I picked up my chair, rightened it, and sat back on it. Brittany got up from my bed and walked up to my computer and read the description. How about Starstreak? She suggested. I thought it over in my head. Yeah, that name fits him well, I said, nodding in agreement. Okay, now that your pony is named, can you help me with mine? Brittany asked. Sure, pull up your pony file, I said, getting up from the chair. Taking a seat, she pulled up a file called Pegasus' Pony. After it opened, then she motioned for me to come closer. Peering at her description, I read out loud, okay, a unicorn, light brown coat, tan mane, tail, green eyes. I pondered for a moment. How about Arcana, since you have that fascination for magical and supernatural stuff? I love it. Thanks, Eric, she said, giving me a tight hug. You're welcome, I replied warmly, as she quickly pulled away from me, blushing. Brittany typed in her pony's new name and then sighed. I can't help but feel like we're still forgetting something about our ponies. I was about to answer when a tune came up from the computer, indicating that I got a message. Brittany stood up from the chair, and then I sat down and made my way to my inbox to see what it was. If this is another remake of Cupcakes, I swear I'm gonna track down the author and shove Cupcakes down his throat. Damn that story. I was never able to look at Cupcakes the same way again. I opened the message expecting an alert for a story update. I found myself staring at a diagram with weird symbols in it. I stared for a while trying to figure out if it was some kind of brain teaser, but there were no clues to what it meant. Hey, Brittany, you should have a look at this. It seems like something right up your alley. She craned her over my shoulder for a look. After a few minutes of intently scrutinizing it, she finally spoke. Well, you're right, it's up my alley. That diagram looks like a transmutation circle. She gave me a conceding look. A transmutation circle is a diagram that releases, increases, or just about anything like that, as long as you know the right formula. I must have been making a face because she sighed, exasperated. Look it up later. She went back to examining the symbol. Look here, this message looks like Latin. Magica verterum et etiquim maturo fatu fatis, vita et indum, elos in taram partit qua magno exalio indubit. What in the world does that mean? I don't know, but look, something's happening. Turning back to the screen, I saw the circle had a green glow around it. Great, that message must have had a virus in it. Panicked, I quickly tried to delete the message. Wait, at least let me memorize the diagram, she said, gripping my hand, stopping me from deleting the message. I struggled for a moment, desperate to protect my files, but then sighed and gave in. Fine, but please hurry up. She nodded and then looked back to the diagram, still gripping my hand. Hey, I think I recognize the symbol here. She pointed at a symbol, her finger brushing against the screen. As soon as her finger came in contact with the symbol, there was a bright flash of white light all around us. Brittany cried out in alarm. What's happening? Ah, I can't see, I said, blinded by the light. As Brittany and I stood trying to adjust to the brightness, we noticed we weren't in my room. Instead, we were in a room with a tall, black, cloaked figure standing in front of us, his head down. We were thoroughly shocked. I was about to ask the figure what was going on, but it spoke in a deep, gravely voice. Finally, after all these years, the spell has finally been given life, but the result is a disappointment. Alas, although you Although another would have been preferable, there's nothing I can do now. I apologize for what I must do to you, too. Please understand that it is necessary. Wait, what do you mean by that? Where are we? What's going on? Brittany quivered. But the cloaked figure just stomped on the ground. There was another blinding flash of light, and suddenly we found ourselves several stories up in the air, falling rapidly to the ground. Brittany and I screamed as the ground rushed up to meet us. I closed my eyes and braced for impact. I must have hit a tree because I felt limbs and leaves hitting me from every side. And then I hit the ground. Something broke, but I couldn't tell what, as more pain engulfed me. Brittany must have hit the tree as well, because I heard her crying out in pain, hitting the ground a few feet away from me. I painfully turned my head to see if Brittany was all right, but she was nowhere to be seen. Instead, I found a light brown coated pony with a tan mane and tail lying there, with its back facing me, moaning in pain. Brittany, where are you? I cried, but suddenly the pain and shock came rushing together, making me collapse. As I saw my vision being surrounded by darkness, I turned my head skywards. Taking in a painful breath, I yelled out desperately, "Please, help us, someone, anyone!" I saw a yellow blur in the corner of my fading vision, but I couldn't muster up the strength for another yell. "Please help us," I whispered to the figure as pain racked my body. The last thing I saw before the world faded into black was the stranger running away.